Hello, my loves. Welcome to another episode of Shorts for the Believer. I am so glad to see you. I've taken a few days off to relish in the fact that my daughter and son are having a baby girl. As I told you while I was driving in, we were having the gender reveal last Saturday. And so about 6 days later, I'm calm enough and can stand still and make a video. And so I'm so excited to be able to share that news with you. And so it is my hope and prayer that you will pray for my children, pray for my new granddaughter that is on her way into the earth. I am so very excited to welcome Tatum Winter to the world. So when you speak to the King, say a word for my children and my granddaughter, will you? So today, I don't know. I'm kind of stuck about what I want to talk about. There were a couple of things on my mind, and one of them was about love again. But the one that I woke up with this morning that I didn't even realize was on my heart until after I got off my knees in prayer was the one that talks about the thought that talks about fitting in. And so I guess today I really want to talk about the problem with fitting in. And I haven't written down a whole bunch of Bible verses today. I'll have to go back and add them in the comments below. But I want to talk about fitting in and the problem with fitting in. You know, I grew up an only child for almost 13 years, and my father was killed when I was 2.5 years old. So it was just me and my mom in the house for a very long time. And growing up in school was really where I got all of my interaction. School and church was really where I got all of my interaction with kids my age and people my age and people that enjoyed the things that I enjoyed: singing, playing the piano, acting, just all sorts of things. But I began to notice probably around fifth grade in elementary school that I just didn't fit in. I just wasn't, I don't know. I just didn't fit in. And the more that I tried to fit in, the less I fit in. And, you know, when I was in elementary school, I remember that kids my age were, their parents were out buying them all these fashions. But my mom was at home sewing my things on the sewing machine. And so that kind of set me apart from everybody else in my in my circle. I'm so sorry. That kind of set me apart from everybody in my circle because I was the kid with the handmade clothes, and my mom loved to crochet. And so she thought all these things were wonderful. And really, they were wonderful. They just weren't wonderful for me because they made me extremely uncomfortable, because it was those things that caused me to stand out and be so very different from everybody in my circle. Then when I got to middle school, we started to move around a bit. And so I started off at one middle school and then ended up someplace else and then ended up someplace else. And there I was being different again. And then when I got to high school, I started off at one high school, was supposed to go to this high school, ended up at this high school. And then due to circumstances in my life, I decided to put myself in boarding school. And there I was being different again. But I remember having such a longing in my heart to fit in and to be like everybody else. And for some reason, it just was not working out for me. And then I remember being in my 20s and having my daughter. And I remember going to church and I was like, well, surely I'm going to fit in here because everybody else right here in the church is just like me. They love Jesus. They are this, they are that. We are doing this, we're doing that. But as luck would have it, I didn't fit in there either. And so I really began to really talk to God about the fact that I never fit in. And y'all, I struggled with this. I struggled with it for a long time because I didn't want to be different. I didn't want to be so different that I couldn't hang out in the crowd with everybody else. I didn't want to be so different that some of the things that were being said kind of went over my head, or I didn't really find as funny as other people found them to be. I struggled, y'all. I really struggled. And I turned 51 this year, and I decided I don't want to fit in anymore. I don't want to fit in. I want to be different. And with that huge realization at 51 years old, I really had to sit down and evaluate the people that were now in my life, the people that were in my circle. And I really, more than looking at them, I had to look at myself, and I had to look at what I thought was so appealing about the people that I was trying to fit in with, that it hurt me to my core that I couldn't fit in. And what I discovered was that, not that the people that I wanted to fit in are bad people, they certainly aren't that, but I've discovered that God has me on a different path. God has called me to something, and I'm still working to navigate through that and figure out exactly what it is. But because of the calling on my life, because of what God has put in me, I can't hang out. I can't assimilate to the things that I think are wonderful or whatever. I just can't. And for the first time in my life, I have discovered that I really am okay with that. It hurt me for a long time because I didn't understand why I had to be the person that was always so separate from the path of popularity or the path of least resistance. But the older that I've gotten in my life, the more I realize that when God has something for you to do, whether you think it's special or not, when God has something for you to do, you can't touch everything. You can't be around everybody. You can't be everywhere. You can't be involved in everything. I'll never forget when I was in my 20s and I was going to this church and I was struggling so hard to fit in. I was on the choir, I was on the praise team, but for some reason, I just didn't fit. And I'll never forget, I, me, I wanted to be in ministry, and I was in frontline ministry in that I was, an adjutant, was on the praise team, but I believed in my heart that God gave me something to say, and I wanted to be able to sit under the tutelage of my pastor and develop that which I believed I had been called to. And I've never said these words out loud since that day, but I'll never forget one afternoon, about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, in the middle of the day, I got so very sleepy. Like I could not, it was just like somebody touched me and a spirit of sleep just descended over me. It was like snowflakes of sleep just sprinkling all around me. And I was so tired, I was so sleepy that I went to my house and I laid down. And in that dream, I saw my pastor, I saw my first lady, I saw the people in the church that I was familiar with. And then God began to peel back and show me some things that weren't so clean. And clear as I'm talking to you today, the Lord told me, you can't be here. And I won't go into what else was laid on my heart. But I woke up in tears. I woke up so very heavy in my soul because I knew exactly what God was leading me to understand. I knew exactly what God was placing in my heart. I knew the reasons why. And what was so difficult for me is that I was willing to accept the things that were not right because I wanted so badly to fit in. And I kept pushing this way, and God kept pushing this way, and I kept pushing this way. And God finally had to sit me down and show me physically, these are the reasons why you will not move forward in this ministry. These are the reasons why. And God was very specific in the words that I heard in that dream. I don't want to share them here, but he was very specific in what he said. And within a few months of that dream, I was separated from that church. And within a few years, So many things happened as a result of that ministry that I understood why God snatched me out at the moment that he did. But y'all, before I came into understanding, I was sad in my soul. I was so upset because I just wanted to belong. Somehow I had connected belonging and fitting in with being at home and feeling safe and feeling secure. And that's not the path that God has for me. And I said all of that to simply say to you that it's okay not to fit in. It's okay not to be a part of the big crowd. When God has something specific for you to do, I don't even want to say special because everything that God gives everybody to do is special in its own way. But when you find that God does not allow you to partake in and of certain things, it is because there is a very specific thing that God has for you to do. And he cannot allow you to get caught up in things that make your human man feel good, because he's trying to grow your spirit. He's trying to help you navigate through being what he called you to be and getting to that place as whole and as healthy as you possibly can with the least amount of damage. And so in our humanness, when we make decisions because we want to be a part of a certain crowd or we want to be a part of a certain thing, and God says no, and we continue to push, sometimes our feelings have to get hurt in order for us to realize that, no, this is not where I want you. Fitting in kind of makes you dependent on how people see you instead of how God sees you. Fitting in pulls you away from God's focus because you're so busy trying to fit in with these people on earth that you're not paying attention to what God is saying to you, or you're not as connected to what God is saying to you because you're so busy trying to fit in. Fitting in is indicative of peer pressure. Fitting in, remember when I told you I was in fifth grade and my mom used to sew my clothes? Part of that need to fit in was the peer pressure that I felt because my clothes were so different from everybody else's. I remember my mother made me this burgundy dress with these flowers in it, and some of the flowers were yellow. And it was a short sleeve burgundy dress with a little collar, a zipper in the back. And then she bought me some yellow crocheted socks to go with this dress that perfectly matched the yellow in the dress. And when I was in that space, I fit in and I felt good about myself. But the moment I got to school and the kids saw what I had on and people started to laugh at me, immediately I lost my level of comfort. I lost my ability to stand firm in what I thought was cute and what my mom thought was cute. I lost that ability because now that I'm in a different space, I'm feeling all this peer pressure and realizing how very different I am and how very different I look. And so at 51, I'm okay with being different. I'm okay with not folding to peer pressure, but it took a lot of growth and it took a lot of conversations with God for him to help me understand that it wasn't about being a bad person. It wasn't about people being bad people. It was simply that fitting in was not the path God had designed for me. And so it's okay not to fit in. I want to tell you that today. It's okay not to fit in. It's okay to be different at work. It's okay to be different in church. It's even okay to be different in your family. That is your opportunity to move closer to God, to be in tune with what his word is for your life, to be connected to what his purpose is for your life. And that is your opportunity to be in tune with what God has designed for you. That's where you can best hear his voice, when you are separated from the things that bring you pressure. So remember, it's okay not to fit in. It's okay to be different. It's okay to be set apart. It's okay to be called to a higher place. It's okay. You know why? Because God did it. God called you to a higher place. God has set you apart. God has made you unique for a reason. And so rest in the fact that God knows exactly what he's doing, even when you don't understand. God does, and he's got your back. It's okay not to fit in. So go, be yourself, be confident in who you are, be confident in the giftings and the callings that God has placed upon your life and the things that God has put in you. He made you just that way. And so there is a purpose for you. There is something that you have to fulfill. And the way that you fulfill that purpose is to be exactly who God called you to be, separate from the crowd. Because the problem with fitting in is that you miss out what he's saying. And we don't want to miss God. I love you. Have a wonderful day. And more than anything today, remember it's okay to be different. Mwah! I love you. See you next time on Shorts for the Believer. Bye-bye.